The rainforests of Southeast Asia are among the most complex and species-rich ecosystems in the world. The richness in species is reflected in the manifold products derived from these forests. The products are referred to as non-timber forest products, or NTFPs. The term NTFP stands for all biological materials other than timber which are extracted from forests for human use. These include foods such as wild fruits, nuts, spices, and honey, as well as rattan, natural dyes, and other materials for craft making, resins, gums, medicines, and ornamental plants. Forest products have always been critical to meeting the basic needs of the rural population in Southeast Asia, and continued use is directly linked to traditional lifestyles, spiritual beliefs, and cultural identities. Furthermore, if properly managed, non-timber forest product development can actually contribute to forest conservation. We start our journey on the island of Borneo in the Malaysian state of Sarawak. The state, once covered with lush forests, has over decades experienced a steady decline.
Sarawak is blessed with rich natural resources. In Sarawak here, according to the official statistics that we have so far, they said around 70% of the state is covered by forest, which comes to around 8 million hectares of the forest estate is covered by forest.
The interior of Sarawak is almost exclusively populated by native Dayak communities. The economy of these communities traditionally revolves around upland farming, complemented by the gathering of forest products. These products are either consumed locally or they form a source of cash income. In Sarawak, none are more dependent on the forest as the Penan hunter-gatherers. Altogether, there may be about 10,000 scattered in small settlements in the Baram and Rejang river basins. The Penan are arguably the ultimate forest stewards, and cultural values among them tend to be strongly geared towards sustainable forest management of forest resources. But let's not wait any longer. We will now visit a group of nomadic Penan in the vicinity of Gunung Mulu, one of Malaysia's most important national parks.
Ini dulu nak, kalau saya jalan hutan kami ikut tinting ke bukit. Tanah kami pun ada bagus, bunyi burung ada, bunyi wawa ada, bunyi kera ada, semua barang bunyi ada. Binatang-binatang dalam hutan ada bunyi. Dari itu kami pernah senang hidup dulu. Zaman sekarang dalam Malaysia ini, semua itu barang sudah hilang, tidak ada lagi. Habislah. Kami orang Penan bagaimana cari, tidak ada. Naik bukit tinggi sana pun tidak ada. Karena lipan, luri, senso, tebang kayu.
Kalau benda ni dia banyak peluru tu dan macam pasti mati tidak. Burung pun kalau orang mau tengok-tengok dia banyak itu orang timbak lagi. Sebarang saja orang makan orang tidak buang, itu kena lihat macam ikan dan sungai kena tu. Berapa banyak orang ambil sekarang sudah. Kita cari babi sekarang. Burung pun tengok tidak ada.
if we look over the years, there have been so many conflicts between the communities and the companies. In the past, in the 1990s, in the 80s, in the 70s, most of these conflicts, disputes involve many communities and between the timber companies. And in the 1980s, late 80s and 90s, they start to have a lot of disputes with the plantation companies.
Company sawit masukkan kuasaan kamu, orang bilang. Itu membuat orang maju. Tapi waktunya kami lihat orang lain yang sudah kena sawit, tidak maju. Tidak nama. Kerana saya sudah pergikan jembatan Suai, tengok saya punya saudara di jembatan Suai. Saya tanya Tua Kapong tu, bagaimana ini keadaan sawit? Ada untung kah? Ada bagut kah? Tidaklah nak, dia bilang. Mulai dia masuk memang dia manit sakap lah. Boleh ini, boleh itu, projek boleh. Sekarang, siapa orang sudah meninggal, mana ada terima itu duit? Dia bilang. Nah, dari itulah saya orang penani, sawit, kami orang tidak mau, sekali tidak mau. Sekali tidak mau.
Because to the natives, they are not really concerned about of their rights to the land, continuous access to those lands over which they have native rights, but the resources over this land are being removed or being damaged in the process, and which also brings a lot of other adverse impacts on their livelihood. Because many of these communities, they depend on the forest to obtain their meat, to obtain their fish from the river, which as long as it's not disturbed, it is very suitable for this aquatic life, fish, certain species of fish, and also for the forest resources, which they also used for their housing materials and many other daily purposes. So this is the close connection of the communities with the forest.
Wild-growing sago is the staple food here. As with other products, harvesting is done very carefully and in a rotation system which is designed to allow the sago clumps to recover with ease after each harvest. Our friends try not to go back to the same grove before it is at full strength again. However, because of the outside pressure on the forest, it is becoming ever more difficult to continue sound traditional practices. The same applies to many other forest resources. A case in point is wildlife. While animals such as wild boar can sustain low-intensity hunting, as done by the Penan, numbers are now crashing. Sports hunters have also entered the forest with impunity.
Tapi hun itu baru ulau palau ni itu. Tapi jaranglah jakah ni puun. Jaranglah urut ni puun. Nau penusah ame lem urip me lem bak puak. Tapi tong kekat tajam, tong kekat uai, tong kekat jakah, tong kekat urut, tong kekat kaan me. Ubanirah tu pakai kereta. Gin pasen gin semah irah tawin de jahame bela punan hame pun tanak metukan nu bela yang kela uban hame tu be pun pala me pitah kaan uban irah na pakai kereta lakau aname kan lah yang kela tajem me wai me uban itu wai me suai jaan jalan me ala apo kayu keleput me kami juala keleput me bepun jah tajam me jalan me murip asan tajam me nah keni so tenulak pe be homong dua kolek murip nulah ame ke kepe nah kami omong gahang hak tong ni berguna perlu tajam me uai me ngan kekat kekat sekian lem tanak me tu memang perlu me inah guna me tong tanak me.
Sago as the staple food is key in the Penang's economy of limited needs. Harvesting and processing is an activity in which the whole group gets involved. The men are mostly involved in harvesting, while afterwards the women tend to process the starch. Sharing of whatever is available with all members of the community, including the old and the sick, is an important trait of Penang culture. So when the starch is ready for consumption, clumps of sago are carefully laid out to make sure that each and every one gets his or her share. At night, the Penang come together in their settlement to occupy themselves with various indoor activities. Some will play the nose flute, an instrument made of bamboo. Others will start making a blowpipe. For one woman, this is the time to finish a nicely decorated rattan basket. One man prepares a set of poison darts. The alternative, of course, is just to sit and talk. Over the past decades, timber licenses have been issued indiscriminately to private companies. In this process, native customary land has been run over and destroyed. As of today, 7 million hectares of hill forest is under logging concessions, which has caused massive forest degradation. Although done in the name of development, a quick buck for the few seems to be the real agenda. After logging, the land is often targeted for the establishment of large-scale plantations. Millions of hectares are or will be converted into oil palm and industrial tree plantations. For years, Dayak communities all over Sarawak have been trying to hold off this final blow to their rainforests. Apart from medicinal plants, there are also much less materials for craft making. For example, natural dyes for coloring hand-woven textiles are all hard to find. In fact, these textiles are essential to the Dayak, as they are widely used in traditional ceremonies.
Dulu kami macam pakai hutan semua buat kerap tangan tuh. Sekarang tidak ada. Itulah kita tidak banyak nampak dia sebab semua sudah habis potong kena kelapa sawit tuh. Buat kumuk tuh bukan original tuh. Dari pasar semua datang sekarang ya, dai bukan tuh tarum, bukan kerbau itu sekarang sudah habis dipotong kena kelapa sawit tuh. Itu memang kami masih susah, kami makin lama makin susah kami bikin ini, bukan original punya dah.
Although our story may sound distressing so far, the spirit of the Penan and other Dayak communities remains unbroken. Today, an urgent priority for Sarawak's natives is to lobby for the right to manage and conserve what is left of the forest. Local people are also motivated to invest time and energy in forest rehabilitation, working to repair the damage caused by others. But to make that worthwhile, security of land tenure is a precondition. Perhaps then, nature may recover bit by bit, with gibbons and birds at ease again, and with rattan growing abundantly and natural dyes easy to find. One day the local craft industry, why not, could thrive as never before. You know what? We stay on Borneo a little longer, but we cross the border with Indonesia into the province of West Kalimantan. We board a longboat until we reach the waters of the wetland area of Danau Sentarum. As in Malaysia, Indonesia's forests are also in imminent danger. In Kalimantan, illegal logging, to mention only one threat, appears almost unstoppable. The local NGO Riak Bumi is actively involved in the Lake Sentarum National Park, where it has chosen a Save the Forest through the Bees approach.
Masyarakat yang tinggal di sana itu sebagian besar sebagai nelayan yang menggantungkan kehidupan mereka dari hasil ikan. Selain ikan juga ada produk lain, misalnya seperti madu lebah hutan. Itu potensinya kalau dalam keadaan normal itu bisa mencapai 20 sampai 25 ton per tahun per musim dari kawasan Danau Sentarum.
Riak Bumi and the local communities have improved the harvest and post-harvest methods in an effort to increase the community's bargaining power for honey products. The harvesting method begins by only cutting the nest head, or the part which contains honey. The local people also leave a little honey and the rest of the nest for the bees after the blooming season. By doing so, the young can survive until they are grown up and can leave the nest.
Berapa kilo, Pak? Wah, lebih.
Meanwhile, improvements in post-harvest techniques are also being implemented in order to get a clean and good quality honey.
Saat waktu pemisahan madu dengan sarangnya, dengan lilin, bagian lilin, ini sebelum memotong bagian sarang, terlebih dahulu harus dibuka pipa madu. Jadi maksudnya itu supaya madu yang ada di dalam pipa ini bisa keluar. Jadi saat pemotongan, cara memotong itu harus dipotong, harus memotong, bukan membelah. Jadi kalau membelah itu tidak semua pipa itu bisa kena pisau. Waktu kita memotong, memisahkan madu dengan lilin, kita juga langsung di situ membersihkan madu. Ada sampah-sampah yang melekat di bagian sarang itu kita bersihkan, kita pisahkan dulu, kemudian baru memotong. Dan juga kalau bisa itu pakai sarung tangan supaya madu itu betul-betul terjamin kebersihannya.
Dari hasil pengamatan kita selama setahun 2 tahun yang lalu, dalam tahun yang lalu kita bisa menjual 1,5 ton, hanya itu. Nah, memang sebetulnya kita mempunyai strategi pemasaran lebih luas terhadap hasil madu hutan dari kawasan Danau Sentarum ke pasar nasional. Oleh karena itu kita melakukan inisiasi pembentukan jaringan madu hutan nasional. Apaan?
Another area involved in the honey network is Alaha, one of the last well-preserved highland forests in southeast Sulawesi. Alaha each year produces plenty of an excellent honey, but has become the latest target of the timber industry. Meanwhile, the honey collectors of Alaha are moving fast to organize. Like others in the network, improving the quality of the honey is important. However, the top priority is to claim back the nectar sources and nesting places of the bees. Honeybee extraction by the community proves that nature provides livelihood for human beings. The third country we visit is the Philippines. We go straight into the mountains of the Sierra Madre to the village of Mugan. The village is well organized through its own NGO, the Kalahan Educational Foundation. The foundation, established years ago, has been working consistently towards the sustainable use of the fruits from their ancestral domain. Literally so, as their main product is a range of jams and jellies made with wild fruits from the surrounding forests. The delicacy is sold in top-end supermarkets in Metro Manila. Kalahan Educational Foundation is also about to start bottling its own brand of mineral water, absolutely clean water being an abundant resource in this unspoiled area.
It started with problems, several problems, but the worst problem that people faced here was about land grabbing. There was a group of influential people who tried to grab 200 hectares of land up here. I thought you will be going there in Maliko. It's a good rolling land, and they wanted to grab that. They told the residents, get out because that's ours. That was the problem. And people said, what shall we do? So they tried to group themselves, said, let's try to fight. So we can do something if we group ourselves. So that was the start. So they said, probably we can solve our problem in education, in others, if we try to have an organization. And so that was the start.
Of course, basic was the education, but then resource protection is critical. And so protection of the watershed was the first priority. And then in the process of improving the watersheds, of course, we're limited. We cannot expand our agriculture. We cannot expand our pastures because of the possible damage to the watershed. Likewise, we would never want to do logging, because logging, by definition, is clearing off an area of its trees, and you're going to have erosion, you're going to have watershed damage, so we never do that. But what we finally decided was, well, if the birds and the pigs and the other wildlife can find a niche in the forest where they can live, utilize some of the resources of the forest, and make a living without damaging the forest, why can't people do it? Are the pigs more intelligent than the people? So we try to find niches where people can find a livelihood without damaging the basic resource, which is the forest. The first thing that we came up with that was really functional was the food processing, where we're using wild fruit. Now anybody can go to the forest and harvest it.
Mountain Fresh is a product that, while environmentally friendly, also contributes to a better standard of living for the people in Umugan. For a start, there are those who benefit from the enterprise by collecting fruits. Among the fruits thus collected are guava, dagwe, and santol. In order to guarantee sufficient regeneration of the trees and to allow for enough food for the wild animals sharing the domain, a limit has been set to the harvest of no more than 10% of the total fruits that ripen in one season. Others find work in the village-owned factory. The production process of jam and jelly takes place in several stages. Juice is first pressed out of the freshly harvested fruits. Then the juice is put to rest in storage. After bottling, the product is ready for transport to Manila. Thus, on average, they are able to ship about 25 to 30 cases per day.
The spring water, we're not in full production and won't be for quite some time because we have to change the factory layout. It doesn't meet the government standards, surprisingly. But the other 25-30 cases a day is the usual production for our jams and jellies if we have one group working for, say, 6-7 hours a day. We can up that to 50 without very much difficulty. But we need to know before the harvest season, if there's going to be a big increase in the market, we need to know before the harvest season so we're sure to have enough raw material in hand.
Hygiene during production and stringent quality control is of the utmost importance for this venture to succeed. Eventually, the consumer, paying a premium, must be able to trust the standards of Mountain Fresh.
When it comes to quality of Mountain Fresh, we believe Mountain Fresh is one of the better jellies in the market. We have very simple ways of finding out. When we sell this, we call this the real jelly. Why? Because even if you put this inside the refrigerator and you put a plastic spoon, if you take it out and the jelly is still cold, it doesn't break your spoon. You can easily take the spoon out and then spread it on your bread, and the bread doesn't it doesn't stick to the bread. It just crumbles on top of the bread. It doesn't leave a hole. The problem with other jellies is they're mostly actually sugar-based, that when you put it inside the refrigerator, if you stick a spoon in it, if you take it out, it breaks the spoon because everything solidifies. So it's not really a jelly. And if you spread it on your bread, it tears a hole on the bread because everything sticks to the jelly that they call the spread. Now, when it comes to quality, we don't have any specific quality problems with Mountain Fresh because I think they know how to make the real jelly.
As we have seen, the people of Emugan are working hard in making a good and honest living in harmony with nature. They do that not only for themselves, but also with the future of their grandchildren in mind.
At one time in the past, this was a very barren area. It was not forested before we began these programs. So the quality of life for us here is a big benefit. And we have land security, not only for just our own household and our, but all the forests all around us belong to us. Now, it's a heavy responsibility, but it's also very nice to live in such a wonderful place.
We are now in the big city of Manila, where the theme Bridging Culture and Commerce is being discussed in the office of the Non-Timber Forest Product Task Force. Here, Nola Andaya is in charge of the craft development.
The craft program started in 2003. It was a program in response to the needs of the communities that we were working with, because most of the communities we are working with already are already into handicrafts, but they lack in the marketing, so that's where we came in and provided the service.
The Craft Center, through its two product lines, Custom Made and Modi, aim at giving some color to the hectic modern life of the city.
Custom Made is basically more targeted to the middle market, like I said. So we have different niches that we're penetrating. There's the conference, which is the NGO niche market. So we're trying to target that, the conference lines. And then there's gift and packaging. We sell them in bazaars and souvenir shops and different retail shops. Target market for Modi is the high-end market. The strategy we're employing for Modi is low volume, high value. So the target market is very small, which is right for the volume that we want. So it's high-end, so we try to position the products in the right places. So we work with upscale boutiques in Manila. We promote it through public relations, through image building. So we work with fashion magazines and home shops and home magazines also to build the image of Modi as the top brands of home and fashion accessories.
Abaca, herbaceous banana-like plantain, is one of the Modi raw materials. The fiber, which the Higaonon of Bukidnon, Mindanao, make of abaca, is lanot, used in the weaving of hinabol fabrics. Hinabol is presented as a gift during tribal rituals and is made into kamuyat, backpacks, knabas, clothing, aba-aba, sling bags, and blankets. During the rainy season, many women spend their time weaving hinabol, but the craft of hinabol making was in decline, and few weavers still mastered the skills to produce top-of-the-line cloth. Today, with a better price and ample recognition in the media, interest in learning the skills has revived. Even some of the men are getting involved, carrying out the simpler, supporting tasks.
We made sure that it would be a collaborative work. So we didn't want that the artisans would come out as just laborers. So we tried to, we had the process to make sure that the design making would be a collaborative effort. There they were able to do, there was an exchange between the designers and the artisans. The designers presented their designs, and then the artisans said, if they were doable or not. So that's how they came up with a final design.
The 9,000-hectare ancestral domain of the Higaonon tribe is mostly forest land. Sustainable use of the forest is a principle that is upheld by the Datos, or traditional leaders of the Bukidnon. The Datos do this because they are convinced that the forest is the ultimate source of the life of the tribe.
Na pughaduman sa kumpanya ipaawat na pakagdaot o klasan. Tas sa una gabi anay, simaan ta manano kay, maampino kay diyo sa klasan. Tas balagon di day bigtawon to ba di nagtaplisi. Tas simaan ta pinalangga diyo sa klasan. Sa kayok tagpuha kay, hadi day bibuton sa yak magabu. Kinanugunan day sa klasan, gabi una. Pinalangga day gayon, sa wahid pinalangga day. Oh, alam day pinalangga, makan day palangga sa klasan mga pasa. Oh, alam mga sagbot, daw alam mga langgam, pinalangga day. Huda day taglail ayon.
The challenge ahead, while exploring new forms and functions, is to see that the integrity of the indigenous design and what it stands for is maintained. No ethnic look, but the real thing is what the artisans aim for.
I'm a graphic designer and I deal with a lot of retailers, stores, restaurants, and that. So we kind of know what the mass market wants. And so that's how we approached it. We know what the demands were. People didn't want cheap stuff. They wanted value. We wanted to capitalize on what made it unique. Because when you sell a product, you have to look at what makes it unique. What's the benefit that the person buying it's going to get, and what's the advantage.
The designer wanted the consumers to play with the different sizes and different colors of the mirror. So it's a way of, because right now the consumers want things that show their individuality. So they would display them. It would just become a part of their regular. Because like I said, the niche in the target market here in Manila, the high-end niche is small. So we try to expand into other other markets also. Like we're exploring now the European Union through a grant from the EU. So we're exploring the market to be able to also penetrate the high-end niche market there.
What is the future going to be? The communities we visited are not going to stand still until everything is gone. Together with many others in the region, they are involved in an effort to maintain their traditions and to protect their land and forests. This effort includes strengthening and revival of sound harvesting practices, lobbying for the right to manage ancestral forests while accepting the obligations that come with those rights, exchanging experiences in the region with value addition, marketing, and effective ways of conserving locally valued forest resources. Legions of supporters are needed for this to succeed. Whether you are a consumer, a scientist, a taxpayer, whether you work in the government, in the media, or at school, you are invited to join us and come on board.